Good evening, everybody. Good evening out there to Monroe. Today is the 20th. The 20th of June. Will everybody... I'm sorry, I'm way ahead of myself. See, that's what happens when you start to move too fast on these meetings. The 20th of May. Will everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's get this started. My name's Rick Colon. I am the Deputy Supervisor today because Mr. Cardone no, I'm not acting deputy. I'm Deputy Supervisor. Acting for the supervisor.
We don't have a deputy supervisor in our
Title is
town code.
acting.
Yeah, your title is acting.
Oh.
Like Tony acts like a
Acting supervisor.
Oh. Well, I'm just acting in place of Mr.
Yes.
Cardone. He is out this
You are
evening.
the acting.
Brings his apologies to everybody. And before we get started, once again, the exits are directly behind you on the audience's right side, and to the rear of us, to our left, your right as well. So please make a note of the exits. Moving right along. Right now, we have to reschedule a public hearing date for the official creation of Water District 14, and that was due to a official notice that had to be posted. Mary Ellen, do you have anything to add to that?
No, the format that the notice needed to be in needs some legal terms.
Right.
So I asked the board to postpone it so I could speak with the attorney to make sure that everything was done right.
Right.
Because this is the legal formation.
It's right. So everything has to be posted, and therefore it will be rescheduled. And that date will be posted. We don't have a date as of yet.
Well, if you could make a motion to set the public hearing for June 3rd at 7 p.m., I would greatly appreciate it.
So be it. So it is now reset for June 3rd, 7 p.m., right here at the Senior Center. And I'd like to make that motion. Can I get a second, please?
I will second.
So can we now call that to
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Begin, I.
Thank you. And that's June 3rd at 7 p.m.
That's our next town board meeting, correct?
Yes. Continuation of the public hearing on Chapter 57 still continues. Is there anybody who would like to speak on that at this point?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we open up that public hearing.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Is anybody sign up to?
Mike Goldstein?
Mr. Goldstein?
Good evening, Mike Goldstein, resident of the town and the village. I'm wondering why there's such a protracted delay in correcting the new adopted building code which we have. No grandfather clause for the owners of houses that are now non-conforming will be able to sell their property unless the buyer pays cash for the parcel. And yet, we are still even considering the new local law, which I call the Shangri-La law. The town now faces the town now faces an uphill battle for the new proposed village of Seven Springs. If this is successful, the town will lose 1.9 acres and a large commercial area. The annexation will take nearly all of the unincorporated land in the northern area of Monroe. So I question why there is a need at this point for this Shangri-La law. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ward Brower?
Ward Brower, private citizen. I'm still puzzled somewhat about one of the aspects of this new proposed law, and that is on senior housing. Since our neighbors in Woodbury had a project which couldn't sell senior housing. And then they had some of them did it illegally, and finally I think they tried to rearrange the code to adjust that this is not really a market for senior housing. The other raises the issue again, and that is to get an accurate count for environmental studies such as seeker, we need to know how many people are going to be in each dwelling, not a bedroom count. I'd see like, how much is it, 2.25 bedrooms? What is that? 2 beds and a chaise lounge? Means nothing. It means number of people you want. I don't care if you want 2 people in the house or if you want 20 people in the house. Just give me that number, then you forward that to the Board of Health, and they will tell you how much water you're going to need and how much sewer you're going to need, as well as the other ramifications. But without that measurement, without that constant, this bedroom count is meaningless. And there's no way an engineer can figure out what's going to be in there if he doesn't know what's the actual count. So you take, in one circle of circumstances, bedroom may have 1 person in, others may have 3 or more in. I know that. So give it a constant count, because that's all about science. It's having a parameter to measure with that you can predict with. Thank you.
Thank you, Wood.
Thank you.
That's all we have signed up.
Okay,
I'd like,
will, anybody from the
yeah,
board, please?
I'll respond to, first of all, I'll just give you a quick update on where we are with that. Councilwoman Bingham had gave me some notes on what she thought there were some of the defects in the law, some things that should be changed or addressed. I gave those to the planner. And you're, of course, welcome to call Mary and
Okay.
have a conversation with him as well. And he, as he reviewed, allergies. As he reviewed it, he said there were a couple of things that did jump out at him that were,
Going to be revised.
yeah, that you picked up that he liked and saw. So those are being worked in, and he's also working on a map that would show areas and parcels that might qualify for the floating zone or the CCR. So, and it's not the Shangri-La law. It's called the CCR or the floating zone. So, so that's in the works, and any other input we get from members of the community, we'll be working on it. And like I said, this is a work in progress, and we will keep on working on it. Mr. Goldstein, I don't know, there's no connection between this and a village creation that is not, in our purview at the moment. So, so it's not a Shangri-La law. It's a very good economic development law that a lot of other municipalities have used in the past, and something that I think would address our needs very well here. So I think by mocking it and calling it something like a Shangri-La law is kind of derogatory, but that be it as it may. And as far as cash for, I don't know what you're trying to talk about, cash for property. Maybe you can clarify that later on. All right. All right. George, do you have the ability to make this louder?
For the yeah, the microphone.
Any of the microphones?
Don't blow on it. He gets agitated.
How are those ears, George?
There you go.
Mind you, your first Metallica concert?
Well,
Yeah?
I'm hearing the recording
Yeah.
that goes on.
Okay.
I'm not hearing really the room. Okay.
Okay, so Ward, you talked about some senior project down in Woodbury. I have no knowledge about that. That doesn't, even relate to our plans. There is a big need for senior housing. Just look at the paper, pick up the Wall Street Journal, ask your local realtors. It's out there, and really, it's going to be what the market bears. And I'm sure we have an aging population, and senior housing, assisted living, those are all things that are in need. Bedroom count versus people count. We've addressed that so many times. I'm not even going to address it. We've talked about it. It is what it is, and it's been addressed at previous meetings. And that is all I got. So right now, I'll make a motion that, or anyone else from the board want to speak
Anyone
on
else?
that?
I do have, I want to speak about the last issue of bedroom count and numbers of people in a particular house. And I was speaking to that gentleman before the meeting. And behold, one of those aha moments where it finally came out that my interpretation of what was being said was, how can you determine the building after the people have moved in, the needs? And what he was alluding to is the fact that the builder will say, well, I'm building this particular structure in mind with X amount of persons per unit. In other words, the builder himself or herself will say this structure is being developed for, say, 10 people per unit or 5 people per unit, not before. And that would in turn dictate how many people up to a maximum amount could live in each dwelling. So therefore, you would be planning around what the builder is hoping would live in that building. I don't know if that's an exact number, but that's about the gist of what I had gotten from the conversation. So even my particular look at it has changed after that conversation. I just wanted to make that point of clarity. It doesn't change, left or right, it's just a clarification of point. On that, I have nothing further to say on this point. Anybody else? All right, so it will remain open
Yeah.
on this amendment so far, correct?
Yeah, Mr. Acting Supervisor, I'd make a motion that we keep this open, to keep this public hearing open until 7 p.m. on June 3rd, our next regular meeting.
And I will second that. Call the question, please.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay, next is the audit of claims. Now, be it resolved that the Town Board of Monroe requests the approval of abstract 19-009, general fund containing check number 24031 through 24098, totaling $175,166.99. Abstract 19005, escrow check containing number 1849 through 1852, totaling $13,990.64. For recommended action, can I get a second on that?
I'll second.
Any questions?
Have they all been signed?
I'm sorry?
Have they all been signed?
Not to this point,
Okay, so, maybe
So-
we should make that motion,
pending
pending
signatures.
signature.
So we'll make that motion pending signatures. Any other comment? Are you exercising your thumb so you can sign them?
No.
Thank you. I thought so. You need a pen? I'll get one with an
I got
extra
a fat
rubber.
one.
Okay. Call the question, please.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Aye. Aye, aye, aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
Okay. Acceptance of the minutes from May 6th, 2019.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes from May 6th.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions at this point? Be that as it may, I would like to call a question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Acceptance of the May 13th, 2019 special meeting minutes that were very special indeed.
I will also make the motion to accept the May 13th minutes, special meeting minutes, excuse me.
To be seconded by?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Comments, questions, issues?
Can I?
You're going to abstain? Sam?
You have to abstain, so you were not at that meeting. Call the question, please.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, abstain.
McGinn, aye.
Okay. Now for the enchilada here. Bond resolution time. maybe we should hold
Mr.
up.
Cologne, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive to just, or attorney-client to discuss that
Attorney-client.
after we go through some more of the agenda.
All right,
So it's
I
not-
think that would be a very good idea at this point. So what we'll do is we'll bypass it at this point, and we'll discuss it later on in the meeting in executive, and then come out and then make a motion on that. Memorial Day Parade donations. We are going to be donating or discuss the approval to donate $1,000 to the following organizations in support of the annual Memorial Day Parade in Monroe. That would be to the American Legion Post 488, the Jewish War Veterans, Lake Region Memorial Post 8858, and Mulligan Eden Post 1573. Each one will be receiving $1,000 each. That would be a total of $4,000. Would anybody like to make that? I'll make the proposal. Would anyone like to second?
Yeah, I'll second it for discussion.
Please.
I believe this is what we've done every year.
Yes, we do it every year. This is to
Mary Ellen,
support,
is that,
This has been done as long as I've been town clerk.
no, I mean the amount we're.
The amount has increased over the years. It's Sunday after the parade. The public is invited back to the American Legion for a barbecue, and this money helps fund that. And then on Monday, Harriman has a parade, and everybody is invited back to the VFW in Harriman, and the town contributes to help fund this event.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, and that's on Memorial Day Sunday. I would like to encourage as many members of the public to show their support for our veterans of foreign wars. The not too distant past and the very past. We're losing a lot of our veterans from World War II. Almost all are gone. And Vietnam is next, I guess, Korea. So I would like to see as many people out there in support of that. Call a question on that?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Begin I.
So moved. Thank you. Well, it's that time of year again. It's boat season. And out will come the proverbial swans. Swan Lake. And of course, we're having a great deal of success with that. So, be it resolved that the Town Board of Monroe authorizes the hiring of the 2019 seasonal staff. Discuss and approve employees hire for 2019 at Alex Smith Pavilion Boathouse at Round Lake. There will be 11 hirees, 3 lifeguards, 4 recreational attendants, and 4 recreational aides. If you don't mind, I can read the names and the titles.
Sure.
All right, Arella D. Agostini, that will be a lifeguard. Samantha Swerdick, did I get that right? Well, we'll mash them up. Sheena Shaw, lifeguard. Kyle Cambria, attendant. Jessica Pidgun, attendant. Sarah Karen, attendant. Samantha Sheldon, attendant. Courtney Furbick, aide. Jenna McNeil, aide. Natalie Sirigano, aide. And Robert Colbert, aide. The salaries for the seasonal hourly recommendation is recreational aide is $11.10, which is the current New York State minimum wage. Lifeguard will be $12, and recreational attendant will be $12.50. Executive content, the seasonal hourly salary recommendations for the recreational aid is at the 2019 New York State minimum wage. The 2018 it was $10.40. Between 2017 it was $9.70. So lifeguards was $12. Conversely, at 2018, it was between 11 and 13, and 2017, it was 11. Recreational attendants were $12.50 versus today versus 2018 was 12, and in 2017 it was 15. There were lifeguards enhanced hourly amounts to reflect the staff that was employed for 5+ years with the town. That is the recommendation made. May I get a second, please, for discussion?
All right, so we're going with the recreational aid at 11.10, lifeguard at 12, and recreational attendant at 12.50.
That is correct.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Anyone to comment? Okay. Can I call a question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Begin aye.
Yeah.
You-
I gotta get that.
Yep.
I gotta get the boat pricing and the, hold on.
If you can just go back to 6.3 and we'll
Where's
do
the
the
hours?
opening of the
have
season
that.
hours.
I don't have that.
The horse.
Thank you. Opening of the Round Lake Boathouse for 2019, the hours of operation. Be it resolved that the town of Monroe approves the following hours of operations for the boathouse at Round Lake for the 2019 season. Proposed hours of operation for the boathouse is Saturday and Sunday. That would be weekends only on June 1st, 2nd, 8, 9, June 15, 16, and June 22 and 23. That would, the hours would be 12 noon to 6 p.m. Staff arrives at 11:30. This would be our soft opening and a 6.5 hour shift with splits of 3.5 hours or 3 hours. Starting Friday, June 28th through Sunday, September 1st. Open daily, except Mondays. Closed on Mondays. Hours of operation, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Staff arrives 10:30 to prepare for the day. Shift split of 4 hours and 4.5 hours. So proposed. Can I get someone to make that proposal? And to second. That's for the hours of operation.
I'll make that motion for the hours of operation.
I'll second.
Thank you. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Where is the other one? For
6.5.
I don't have it. Hold on. I don't have it. Ah, here it is. Okay, found it.
Talk about that.
6.5, Round Lake Boathouse, Monroe resident only days and non-resident days.
Mr. Mr. Cologne, Emery Morris, the director.
Is she here?
She's right there. So,
Yes.
Ah, and so she is here.
so I think she
Anne-Marie.
should come up and.
Would you like to discuss the,
The happenings at the boathouse, the new Swan Lake.
Good evening.
good evening?
Thank you. Good evening.
Did you have any questions, or did you, I don't have my key, so I can't go in and get the resolutions that are in front of you. So I don't know what part, I just walked in.
We're up to
so-
6.5,
Would you like
and
mine?
that would be, we just did the hours of operation
And they did the employees.
We did the
We
hires.
did the
and did the
employees.
hire.
Yeah. So it's really just this non-resident.
This is the residents
Okay.
and non-residents, if you would like to
Okay.
explain that and go into a little detail.
Anne Marie, is that as many as we had last year at the boathouse, or there's a few new additional employees?
We have some returning employees, and we have some new ones,
Good.
which is typically what happens. The older ones
Yeah,
move
just-
on, and then and we want it that way so that
should be.
we have some high schoolers and some college kids, and then when the college kids go away at the end of the summer, we can still staff the last week of August.
Right, good.
And we're going to end it before the Friday before Labor Day, because last year we had no one come on Labor Day. We also had no one come on the 4th of July, so I'm going to think I may close them on the 4th of July as well.
Okay.
So,
Not a bad idea.
and the reason we're starting after Memorial Day is, quite frankly, we're not ready. The maintenance staff is still doing lawns and trying to play catch up with all this rain, so I really didn't want to put upon them to have it open for this weekend, because it would be a soft opening anyway. So I felt like the following weekend would be better, so that they're better prepared. We can really look at all the equipment and get all the equipment out instead of perhaps only part of it.
All right.
Sounds good. Let's hope for some sunshine. That's the
I
key.
agree. So do you have any questions about, this policy is not really new. Last year we had a resident and guest policy last year, but this year I'd like to just put, the only new part is that it's Tuesdays and Wednesdays specifically. That way the Monroe residents can enjoy it the rest of the time, and we don't have, what was happening on the weekends was a bottleneck of sorts, with a lot of people zooming in. You know, we have limited parking, and I really feel that this is a safer way. It's less busy typically on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and that's why we're not open on Mondays, because historically, again, you know, we've had less people on Monday. So it's costing us to stay open, to pay for staff when we don't have people renting. So did you have any questions?
Yellow paddleboard +2 non-resident.
Oh, okay. So what's in the policy that you guys adopted last year was a resident will pay, let's say for the paddle boat, it's $20
Right.
to rent. The non-resident pays the $20 plus $5 per person in the boat. So typically, if we've got a 5-seater, that would cost $45.
Okay, but that's the paddleboard. We still have the
Paddle
other paddle.
boats.
That, it says here paddleboard.
Right,
That's why I was a
paddle
little
board
bit-
is only for one person.
For one person. That's why I
Right.
was a little bit confused on that, so that's why I asked for that.
You know what, I don't have what I wrote for you in front of me because I
That's
didn't give
okay.
my office. So it says paddle board.
Paddleboard will cost $20 plus 5, that's 25. Yellow
Right,
paddleboard
no, so
plus
that
2.
is correct. So if a non-resident rents a paddle board,
Mm-hmm.
it's only one person, and he's a non-resident, he'll pay $5 more.
Yeah, that's fine.
So that is correct, yes.
Okay. Monroe residents will always be given preference over non-residents, proof of residency required, driver's license, et cetera, et cetera.
And let me explain that proof of residency part. So I've asked April to create a list of all the roads that are in Monroe, both the village of Monroe and the village of Harriman, and the unincorporated town of Monroe, and we have it in a book form. So now when someone comes up and they say, I'm a resident of Monroe, we're going to be able to look it up in the book by street. So it's going to be a lot easier.
Okay. I mean, I stopped by there a couple of times last year on the weekends, and it was quite busy. Do you see this having a significant impact on our the income side of this?
Well, no, I think we're going to be moving the income to Tuesdays and Wednesdays,
Right.
where it won't be as busy.
Okay.
On the weekends, it was terribly busy. And I think shifting it, it's worth a shot to shift it to a day that we were less busy
Right.
and have people utilize it then.
Okay. I mean,
And that's just for non-residents. I mean, certainly residents would be there on Tuesdays and Wednesdays as well.
Sure, right.
And it's, as long as something
Right.
is available.
and I mean, obviously that parking lot is limited in its capacity of what it can hold.
Yes.
And coming in and out of there can be tricky. I mean, should we
It's
be
tricky when it's just yourself and nobody in the parking lot. Trying to make that turn,
Right.
the
That's-
left-hand turn back to the
Right.
village, it's a tough one.
It's dangerous.
all right?
There's no.
I mean, there's really no way to change the parking there. The way you come in and the way that it's set, I mean, unless we moved that barricade back, but frankly, I like that, having that barricade. It gives a nice buffer to the people that are milling around
Yeah,
or
sure.
up at the boathouse.
Yeah.
And then on the other side where the boats launch, there's very little on the left-hand side. There's no parking there, and you'd have even a worse
Right.
situation of someone trying to back out. So, I would not. I don't know how we could configure it any differently.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we could maybe some type of signage or something. I know it's a state road, but might be something we have to think about. Mr. Shirley, park
know, it's
ahead,
just-
go slow. I don't know. We'll have to think
Yeah.
of that. It just, I
Look
know
out.
it's a challenge, and
It is a
just wanna
challenge,
Make sure
and,
everyone's safe.
And then sometimes people just, they jackrabbit in. They don't really pay attention. And then
All right.
I've got people right at the entrance and then trying to get out. I'm just trying to figure out another creative way. And I think Mary and I talked about it last year, how could we make it better? And this is the shot for this year to try and change it to another day.
Okay.
And it's a learning curve on the residency issue. So certainly the book is going to help with the listing of street addresses. That's
Right.
going to alleviate a lot of issues.
Right. All right, thank you.
Sounds good.
Okay. Anyone else? Anything else?
No, I think the motions I put there just to make it easy for you.
Okay. So, non-residents will pay, like you said, the additional $5. So, of course, the paddleboard will go from 20 to 25. What's that, a kayak with the 2 people?
It's
One.
a yellow paddle.
A yellow paddle?
Boat that
Oh,
has four.
boat.
That has 4 people in it.
All right, and that goes for 20 plus $5 per additional
Let's just
person,
say
so
it's the cost of the boat plus
Plus
$5
$5
per
person.
person,
Yeah.
and just leave it simple like that.
Leave it at that. And so we will do that. There will be no non-resident rentals on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. No exceptions.
And there'll be a learning curve to that, but we'll get that done.
At this point, yeah, we have to have something to go by.
That's why it's a soft opening. We're going to try and we'll get it on the website. I know Val and I will work on it this week to get that done.
All right, so without any further ado, we have the proposal, we had the second, can we call a question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
There's no vote on that.
Well, we just had one.
Well, we need someone to make the motion, make the second.
We made the
Have
motion.
vote,
Made
we
it.
have no
I
motion.
think you made
We
it.
had that
Do
one.
we have a motion, no?
No.
All right, let's do this all, let's try this again. I'll make a motion that we accept the resolution as stated.
I'll second that.
It's not really a
Bang.
resolution, the policy as stated.
The policy as stated.
Right.
Call
Printed
the
and
question,
stated.
please.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
How's that?
Thank you.
You're quite
Thank you,
welcome.
Mrs.
Anne Marie,
Morris,
thank you
appreciate it.
again.
Thank you, Anne Marie.
Thank you, appreciate that. Good night.
Okay, I had put in here something on the 5G rollout.
Excuse me,
We did
acting
that.
supervisor, no, we didn't approve the pricing for the rental, for the rowboat, $15, the kayak. We have to
Wait a minute,
approve
wait a
these
minute, wait a
prices.
minute. We have to bring up the proposal first.
Bring it back.
Mary Ellen, we're not changing the prices. Those were the prices that
Last year.
From last
Yeah,
year?
so we're good with, we should be good with
That
that.
was just an example so that they understood the.
No, it's here as a motion.
All right, so
and
we'll make it a
They
motion.
should take it in up as a motion for this year.
We'll make it in as a
that
motion.
number 4?
It's not a problem.
6.
6.6.
That's my, yeah.
6.6, proposed rentals for 2019 for Round Lake Boathouse as follows. A rowboat is 15, kayak is 15, trike is 15, the Swan is 20, paddleboard is 20, blue paddle boat is 20, yellow paddle boat is also 20. That is the proposal. May I get a second?
I'll second.
Call the question, please.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
And Anne Marie, you said those are the same prices as last year, correct?
It is.
Good,
yes.
good.
No room for inflation here. And thank you for maintaining a price control. Next. Old business. On the 5G rollout, I had reached out to Optimum Online regarding concerns about cell towers and the new cell towers for 5G that are being proposed. The 5G rollout will require a cell tower on streetlights every 300 meters. I had reached out to Optima Online to see what they felt and to have them come in. They said that they're not going to be involved with the cell towers. I should reach out to one of the phone companies like Verizon or one of the other phone companies to find out how they're going to do it. There are some major concerns about this, but I'm going to turn this over and wait until we can get some more information from either the FCC or one of the major phone carriers. I don't want to start being too negative one way or the other before this comes to pass. So if there is someone out there that does have information on this from the general public, they can contact me at Town Hall. My extension is 112. Leave a message, I'll get back to you, or, of course, my phone number is also listed as well. And I would like to pursue this in an orderly fashion before it happens so we can avoid any problems, misunderstandings, or misgivings before this comes through. Let's get information, find out what's going on before it happens. That's all this is. So, with that being said, the assessor's office for expense. We have the assessor that is sending someone out for training. That would be Nancy Elgueta? Nancy Elgueta will be going out, the assessors clerk, to attend Cornell University seminar training July 14th through the 19th at Ithaca, New York. The total expenditure on that, and it's included in her budget, will be $1,581. That would come out of a budget source of A001355-4189-00. Be it resolved that she gets sent out on this. That's the proposal. May I get a second on that?
Second.
Any questions or comments, please? Call a question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarella, aye.
Begin I.
The Millennium Group Strategies proposal. Millennium Strategies is a company for the town of Monroe that will be doing, their specialty is grant writing. This proposal, we will have Millennium Group, they will only do one thing and one thing only, and that is grant writing for the town. We also will be having, we also now have an agreement, and we'll formalize that with the town of Harriman, that will also take 25% of this at no extra cost. Millennium said that they will also do additional grant writing for them as well. The Village of Monroe also has some interest, but is not yet, they have interest, but they've not voiced if they are going to be into it completely. At this point, this agreement is made to enter on May 7th, 2019 between Millennium Strategy herein, referred to as consultant, located at 445 Hamilton Avenue, White Plains, New York, 10601, and the town of Monroe herein, they're referred to as client, located at 1465 Orange Turnpike, Monroe, New York, 10950. The scope of services: consultant will provide full site of grant research writing services, including but not limited to the following: ongoing evaluation of town's funding, procurement of efforts. This process will include the necessary meetings with key personnel to evaluate and determine past successes compared with future funding goals. Notification of all available governmental, non-governmental funding opportunities. The town will receive a detailed memorandum of potential funding opportunities that include an explanation of what Millennium Strategies will do and what the town's responsibilities are in order to complete the grant application process and produce the best possible results for submission. Research, preparation, writing, submission of the following follow-up include stakeholder support of all targeted available governmental and non-governmental funding applications. Acting as liaison on behalf of the town with stakeholder and government officials and their offices pertaining to grant and funding procurement services that Millennium undertakes on your behalf. The term of this agreement shall commence on May 1st, 2019, and shall run through April 30th, 2020. Either party may terminate this contract with or without cause upon a 30-day written notice verification. Compensation. The consul shall receive a monthly retainer of $3,000 to provide services as described above. The consultant's fee is not contingent upon the successful awarding of funds of these grant applications. There are no hidden costs associated with this fee structure, which includes all time, travel, and expenses. Each party thereby agrees to defend, indemnify, and hold the other party harmless from any expense, loss, liability claims incurred directly or indirectly by the responsible party with respect to any action or omission authorized or unauthorized of such party, its employees, servants, subcontractors, or assignees with respect to this agreement. Indemnifications shall include but not be limited to fees, claims, demands, losses, costs, settlement costs, counsel fees, or whatever nature without limitation. This agreement is not assignable without prior written consent of all parties. Binding, this agreement shall be binding upon each party's successors or assignees. The terms of this agreement shall be governed by the laws of the state of New York. Disputes. The parties hereto stipulate and agree that any dispute between them, either equitable legal relief is sought, shall be venue at the Superior Court of New York. Each of the parties for this agreement shall stipulate and agree to personal and subject matter jurisdiction of the Superior Court of New York in such dispute proceedings. So to approve this with Millennium Strategies, I would like to make that proposal, and it would be for the term of $3,000. At this time, we have interest, as I said, with Harriman. Harriman would be picking up 1/4 of this cost. Question? Or can I get a second? Second for discussion.
Do we
Please.
have a commitment in writing from Harriman, and do we have the Village of Monroe was supposed to get on board with this? Are they
The
not?
Village of Monroe is, we haven't gotten
vote on it
anything.
tomorrow.
But we should have. Mary Ellen, did we get anything from Harriman at this time on this?
I haven't heard anything from Harriman officially or the Village of Monroe.
All right.
I heard the village will vote on this tomorrow.
Which, Monroe?
Monroe.
Okay. So at this point, we should be getting something in writing on this. We have tried in the past to do grant writers. We've had various people get paid in previous administrations, and they came up with nothing. So I figured that, and the board, we've everybody on this board has met with Millennium. We've also gone through a number of different towns that they've dealt with, as well as cities and villages and everything. We've vetted them. Very positive reviews. They said they work very well, and they just got one town $1.2 million in a grant. So I think that, and I firmly believe that when you have a professional write it, they get the verbiage right, they know what they're doing, they come back, they tell you what's wrong, what you have to do. There's a lot that's involved in writing a grant, and it's more than just 1 or 2 grants a year. So I believe that this is going to be very cost-effective for the town. Any other comments from the board, please?
What's their success rate?
As I don't know how to say it as a rate, but they've said that it's usually 45 to 1 is usually their lowest amount that they get.
Okay.
If you want to call that a rate. It's not a guarantee, but it's what they've been doing so far. And every municipality that I spoke with that they did business, and there was about 8 of them, had nothing but very good reviews to say about their operations, how professional they are, and that they have a very good success with Millennium. I didn't catch any complaints that said they didn't do what they said they were going to do. So,
I'd like to. Do we have a motion yet on this or no?
This is the motion, we made the motion.
Okay, I
look
mean,
second for
I would be
discussion.
inclined to approve it if we had with the stipulations that both villages are on board with it, and upon review of by the attorney, to ensure that the contract is in the best interest of the town and legally sufficient.
All right, my only issue is that right now is the time to put in for a lot of these grants. I don't want to hold off too much into the summer, and then before you know it, it's September, and we miss a window of opportunity to get grants, especially for a lot of departments here. But if the board so chooses, we can table this to the next meeting. I'd like to get the decision of the board members if they wish to approve it today or if they wish to hold off. But I don't want to be held hostage by the other villages if they don't want to do it. I think it'll be a win-win situation for the town. The villages would just make it that much more cost-effective for all of us. We've been discussing, I mean, you've met with them, right, Mr. McGinn?
I met with the
spoke with
gentleman
them?
when he came
Right.
here, but that was it.
That was it?
And listen, I believe the villages probably will benefit the most from having a
Agreed.
grant writer, because
Yeah.
they're the ones that need the downtown revitalization money and some of the other things that they would bring to the table. Not that it wouldn't benefit
See,
us by
the-
having it.
It would benefit us,
Yeah.
it would benefit them even more because they're able to get the grant services at no additional cost. In other words, the $3,000 per month would include any grant that they write for any of the villages as
Right.
well as the town.
Right.
So I thought that,
Yeah, no, as long as they're
I just-
they're in on it,
Yeah,
that's
if
fine.
they're all on board,
Well, I have a question for Mr. Nugent. Under terms, it says that either party may terminate this contract with or
30
without
days.
cause within 30 days. So if we approve it tonight and then find out that the Village of Monroe and/or the Village of Harriman aren't going to sign on, would this clause be viable for us to get out, or is there...
Without clause.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not reviewed that document, so I don't want
Oh,
to
you haven't
comment,
been
but I'll
able-
say, based on the language, that, that what you just read certainly suggests that with or without cause is for any reason, you could terminate on 30 days. You can also approve it subject to our review in final form, which won't delay it if you want to move it tonight.
well, I mean, if you haven't had a chance to review the document, then,
I don't know that it's been provided to me, to be honest with you, if it's only on.
all right, I'll make
or
sure
something.
that you get it within the next day or so.
Well, maybe
we'll
we
have
can
to-
put this over to attorney-client, then if it's only this one page, he can look it over. We don't want to rush it.
I don't even want to pass it down. I can take a look at it and give you my
Well,
thoughts.
let's hold it off till after attorney-client, and I think we may have to hold it over to the next meeting, if there's any second thoughts, but I just thought,
Because I know that window of opportunity, a lot of the EFC grants are in June.
and that's the problem, that's what we're racing against right now,
Yeah,
so.
I think maybe just hold it over to the 3rd, and it's only another 2 weeks, and maybe by then we'll know where the two villages stand, and he'll have a chance to look at it, and we'll be better
Well,
situated.
this is something that our town supervisor's gone through with both mayors. So, I mean, even if they're not on board with it, I would still think that for this town, we desperately need to have a professional grant writer. We've tried this in the past, it never worked.
Right.
You saw it, what happened at the Moodna district. I mean, you had people pipe up and say they write grants, and you ask them how many grants they wrote, and they didn't.
Oh, yeah, no, there's no dispute that we
So-
need a professional grant writer.
I-
Don't get
I
me wrong,
mean,
we definitely,
This is something that requires somebody, there's a team of specialists that do nothing but grant writing. So, we can discuss this further, I guess, and hold it over, and if you still feel the same way, we can hold it over to the next meeting.
all right, we'll do it in executive, and then,
If you have
Next week.
any additional questions, whatever, or we can hold it over to the next meeting.
Yeah, I just took a look. I mean, I don't see any major issues with the contract itself. A couple of minor wording changes, reference to Superior Court should be Supreme Court. Other than that, as far as the term, the only to Councilwoman Bingham's question, the 30-day written notice is accurate that it's with or without cause. However, you would, in that case, still be paying for the first month because it is there is a per month fee. So if you're not sure about it, I wouldn't enter it until, you're actually willing to pay that first month of services.
All right, so why don't we table this to the next meeting then, because I feel, I don't want board members to feel put upon voting without having additional discussion on this, but I think that we're gonna have to make up our minds by the next meeting, because there's time limits on these grants when they have to get paperwork in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We don't want to drag our feet on it. I think it's something we want to definitely do because, again, we for quite a few years, we had no grants coming in, and then we've been doing well over the last, especially over the last 2 years, and we
Right.
want to keep that going.
And once you formulate a pipeline and you get the grants written in, it comes in on a regular
Yeah.
basis. So that's the reasoning behind all of this. So we can table this to the next meeting,
June 3rd.
Sounds good.
June 3rd.
Well, hopefully the village approves it tomorrow night. And
Get it
we're all on
approved
board.
tomorrow night, and then we'll get it,
Then it should be a no-brainer.
okay? So table to the next meeting on the 3rd.
Fine.
I'll second that.
I don't think we don't have to vote on that. Just table. Is that correct, Marielle?
Well, you had a motion on the floor, so just.
Just withdraw the motion.
Well, you had a motion, you didn't say what the motion was, so.
Well,
to
the motion was
discuss.
for the approval, right,
For the
to discuss.
discussion and approval, so we're tabling it.
We'll
You're
table,
fine.
table till the 3rd.
You're fine.
Thank you. Okay. Eagle View Conservation Easement.
Supervisor, Mr. Frischberg represents the property owner concerning this matter, so if you want, he can give you the brief overview of this.
That would be terrific. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, this is a 3-lot cluster subdivision under section 57-21.7 of your zoning laws. It requires that a conservation easement be part of the plan under 57-21C10. We have to, among other things, give the town a conservation easement. Giving the town but the law as written says it's subject to town board approval. So what we propose is a conservation easement to the town, where the town has absolutely no obligation to do anything to the easement. You're simply going to be the grantee of the easement.
Right.
The homeowners, it will be the homeowners will have the obligation to maintain the easement itself. So there's no problem. The town shouldn't have a problem with it. It enables the cluster development to go forward. For what it's worth, I spoke to Mike Donnelly, and he's prepared to go forward on the planning board side with this as well. If you have any questions, I'm here to help.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
This portion of the parcel's been surveyed and marked out. Does it have survey stakes or markers out there so that the home,
Yeah,
what kind of markers? Permanent markers, or are these the little orange flags that fly you off in the breeze?
Oh, now
Get
you're
it
getting
gone
into
by
real
list.
detail. I don't know, Glenn, the little markers or big markers? Whatever markers you want, we'll put whatever you want.
I
There's
want-
gonna be a it's gotta be a meets and bounds survey. We already have the maps done for it.
Right,
I'm
but
not sure, I
in-
haven't been out to the property, I can't tell you if it's orange, yellow, blue.
I want permanent markers out there, because what happens is, especially if this is going to be followed up by a homeowners association,
Uh-huh.
oh, let me put my shed a little further out there. Oh, that tree is blocking
Oh, I see,
the...
yeah, we'll put.
I would like permanent
You want
markers out
You want
there.
the stakes that you hammer into the ground that can't be taken out?
Yes, exactly. And on those stakes, it's supposed to say something with wording to the effect that the town of Monroe has to be notified of anything, any kind of disturbance, similar to what we have on our wetland markers.
Sure. Do not remove under penalties of death, whatever you.
Exactly,
Right, that's-
exactly.
I was
Yeah,
thinking exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
We'll have them put in brass or concrete or both.
Usually these are the carcinite markers.
I think
Carcinite.
plexi would be outlast all
Yeah.
of us.
All right,
All
whatever
right.
markers you want, we'll put in.
All right, that would have to be addressed with the planning board as part of conditional final agreement?
Yes. that's
One
fine.
of those?
Yes.
Okay. Can our attorney send a little notice off to the planning board attorney that that would have to be an additional item on their final approval?
Well, we can add that because I think procedurally, if I'm not mistaken,
accept
this
it.
has to go back to the planning board. I don't even know if there's been the baseline easement report that's required in the town code with the list of items.
Yeah, there is. We have maps, if that's what you're talking about.
I'm saying, but that goes before the planning
Yeah.
board. So really, the reason the applicant's before the town board is really just for authorization that the town will hold the conservation easement, because under the state statute and our town code, it's either a nonprofit or the public body that must hold the conservation easement, and there's really no nonprofit that's going to hold this particular conservation easement. So there's no, as Mr. Fishberg touched on, there's no responsibilities of the town, no obligation to do anything. You have the right of enforcement if the conservation easement was being violated at some point, but you're not obligated to take any action. So tonight, I was going to suggest a resolution authorizing me to communicate to the planning board council that the town board would agree to hold the conservation easement, and then we can add the
Permanent
language that
markers.
you're looking for permanent markers, if the applicant's okay with
Yeah,
that.
I think procedurally,
We accept it at
you
this
agree
point, and it goes
accept
back
the
to
easement,
planning board.
And then the planning board attorney works out the details.
That's correct. All right?
That's
So
all.
you want to make that proposal? And
So I'll
then-
just state the resolution, someone can adopt it to authorize town legal counsel to communicate to planning board council that the town board will hold the conservation easement for this project, and to also communicate that the town board would like the easement area marked with permanent markers.
All right, I'll accept that as the proposal. Second, please.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, I
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. And now, what everybody's been waiting for.
Oh, Mr. Cologne, before we head into that, I just want to make a motion.
For?
I'll go into it. We now have the spec sheet and plans for the security system for Town Hall. So we can now have an RFP drafted by the attorney and use those plans as a basis for integrators or security companies to come in and now use that plan as a way to draft and to make their bid proposals.
See, it would be great if we could get a grant for that.
That'd be great if we could get a grant. for
Well,
that,
we
yeah.
can't because we don't have a grant.
We've got some time. We've got some time.
2 weeks.
He's
Time's
not
up.
going to get the RFP out for. It's going to take probably 2 weeks to get it out anyway.
At least.
Couple of months.
No.
All right.
done
So
already.
make
So-
your proposal, sir.
So I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the town attorney to draft an RFP based on the spec sheet and floor plans that were drafted for the security systems, cameras, access control, various other systems for town hall. And as part of that RFP, we include a site visit from any bidders to come in and review the property prior to submitting their bid.
Second. That's your proposal?
Yep.
Then I'll second it. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
I guess that passes. Anything else?
I passed.
Anyone? Okay. Public comment? Do we have anybody signed up?
Lorraine Loning?
Hi, good evening, Lorraine Loning, Village of Monroe. I have a question about the boathouse wages that are going to be paid. I'm speaking as the mom of a lifeguard. When my eldest son was a teenager, he lifeguarded all over the place. There's a lot of training and certifications and a lot of money spent getting those trainings and certifications. They're highly skilled. When things go sideways, you want a lifeguard there. I'm wondering what the thinking is to have a recreation attendant make more than a lifeguard, when I believe they're just counting the money. I mean, I don't know if there's any special training that goes into that, as opposed to a lifeguard who there is plenty of special training. So I would hope that you would reconsider this, because if people aren't paid for their special skills and trainings, ultimately they're going to stop getting those special skills and training, because they can get paid the same or more doing, you know, with what they have, not going for that training. So just think about this. You want someone who knows how to lifeguard, who knows CPR, knows how to rescue someone in the event that things go south. So, like I said, if you could reconsider that. I have no skin in this game. My kid hasn't been a lifeguard in a long time.
Oh, yeah, I know.
He's a grown-up now, so, but just think about it, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ward Brower?
Ward Brower, private citizen. First comment is, what was that meeting on the 13th about anyway? You know?
It's special.
Oh, well,
meeting.
we'll talk.
We'll talk after.
Well, it's hard for me to make a comment on it if I don't know what it is, but anyway. Okay, still understand the delay, grandfathering clause of homes built and were legal prior to adoption of new zoning. I don't know what the hold is. I've been asking this for a year, almost a year and a half. And comments on the bedroom count. Bedroom count, again, is a non-enforceable, meaningless unit of measure which violates both the spirit and the letter of the law seeker. We don't, but often we do. Developers spend a tremendous amount of money having engineers take numbers, calculate drainage, calculate amount of water, sewer, calculate how much sewer is generated, et cetera, et cetera. But if they don't have a definitive count, they can't do that. And if they reach a number that can be flexible, that's a bogus count. You wasted a lot of money, and you totally violated 1975 Seeker Act when you don't have a meaningful count. It's a constant. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dan Burke?
I'd like to say a couple of things about formation of a village and annexation. Is the board receptive to that?
Sure.
Stop for us, but go ahead.
You got 3 minutes.
The Palm Tree Town Clerk, Gedalia Zeget, and the Palm Tree Town Supervisor, Abraham Weeder, I sympathize with them because they don't want their wells and their park out of their direct control. So, but there was an agreement, and and that agreement included 10-year moratorium annexations, and that agreement stands. And it wasn't just to the group that signed the agreement. It was to all the people in the town of Monroe who went to the polls and voted for the formation of Palm Tree, including 10-year moratorium on annexation. They cannot go back on it no matter what the circumstances change. That's a contract, that's a deal, and it should not be violated. In regard to villages, I sympathize with the people over on Seven Springs Mountain Road. They have special needs. They think it could be met better by having their own little village, but that's the wrong way for government to go. We should have a broader group as possible. They have special needs. They can bring them to the town of Monroe, and the town of Monroe is capable of listening and meeting those special needs. They don't need a new village for this. There's a major development going on Larkin Drive, and it'd be much better if that development were reviewed by the planning board for the town of Monroe and not some new village that have like 2 months experience. So it's very important that they stay in the town of Monroe, where the needs of the whole town can be looked at. There are a couple of other. James Skoufis introduced a change in the formation of the village law. Now that might pass. If Cuomo signs it, fine. Then the whole town gets a vote on it, and that's what I'd like to see happen. But if that doesn't happen, if Cuomo vetoes it, the town of Monroe could form its own village, either the town outside the villages, or they can use an annexation process to have the village of Monroe. become part of this. And I think the town board should be prepared to consider those possibilities. And the best way, I think, to do it would be to talk to Mike Donnelly, sign an agreement with him, ask him to do the research on what would have to happen for those villages to be formed, either in a large village of Monroe or a new village of all the land outside the villages. Anyway, that's my suggestions, and thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Goldstein?
Mike Goldstein, Village and Town. I just want to reiterate what Mr. Ward said. Why hasn't a grandfather clause been added to the existing code that we adopted? That was supposed to be the be-all and end-all as far as zoning requirements. And I have personally have not gotten an answer to that question. In the last 4 town meetings, and I've asked every one of them, even tonight, you made comments about my comment about Shangri-La. Nobody's addressing these. Why aren't you making this grandfather clause for them? I would bet that Mr. Nugent could draft that in a paragraph and it could be signed. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, we
That's all that's signed up?
We authorize the planner to do
Um,
this meeting. I'll-
Any members of the board who would like to
Yeah,
comment?
Before you open comments, I just want to recommend to the board that with respect to the issues of village incorporation and pending annexation, that you do not make comments as there is pending litigation on that issue right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was just going to say that. Thank you, Mr. Nugent. Regarding the special meeting board, the minutes are out there. You can look at the minutes. It was regarding pending litigation of a lawsuit. The minutes are there of the meeting. They were approved here this evening. Perhaps Mr. Goldstein didn't hear, but at the last meeting, we authorized the planner to look at and draft the, actually, Ms. Bingham made the, Councilwoman Bingham, I'm sorry, made the resolution to do the revision or the grandfathering of the acre. It's not as simple as saying, hey, let's just do it. There's a lot of moving parts to it. It's not that simple. The planner has it. We authorized it at the last meeting, and he's working on it. So we're going to set a public hearing date for that. And once we have an acceptable draft, then we'll put it forward. But it was passed at the last meeting, so there's no dragging feet on that. And Ms. Loewen, we'll look at the lifeguard versus rec attendant salaries. I don't know what our retention, if we're having retention issues or not having retention issues with that rate. I know that the lifeguards at the lake or at the boathouse are doing a little bit of a different job than say a lifeguard at a pool. What's that? Well, we'll look at it. We don't want to lose people, and we don't like a high turnover, but we'll certainly look at it. Listen, some lifeguards in private places make $25 an hour, so certainly I couldn't be a lifeguard anymore, but it's good money if you want to do it. So it's something we'll look at. That's all I have.
Lorraine, I think minimum wage in New York is $11.10 an hour, so they're getting a little more than minimum wage, which is good. But it's something we'll look at and we'll talk about. It was a good point.
The individual that we have that's running the boathouse and most of the money, the recreation, she is very, very fastidious and punctilious in her duties and looking these things over. I think I have great faith and I'm sure she looked that over before. And
she can answer.
In fact, Anne Marie, you want to come up and answer at the?
Ladies and gentlemen, Anne Marie Morris.
A little disappointed in Lorraine because she did follow me out to ask me a question, but didn't tell me that part of her concern, and I would have gladly answered her in the hallway. We got lots of applications. These jobs were filled. It's competitive to other similar jobs. There are all different kind of lifeguarding jobs out there, and they all have different setups, and this one is quite competitive. And I also have, when someone is returning, there may be a little bit more. So it all depends on the job, who's coming back, the skills that they come with, and their age. So I didn't have any trouble filling the jobs, and they were competitive to other jobs in the area that are similar. And sure, there are definitely some other lifeguarding jobs that are hundreds of kids, ocean lifeguarding job. This is just not that type of job. And I think everyone we interviewed was quite satisfied with job function and the range, so.
Are you having
That
any
answer-
issues with retention or?
No, I mean, certainly, you know, the ones that were the oldest, they were getting internships and moving on in their careers in
Right,
college, and that's to be expected. You know, and then I'm gonna get some younger ones that are joining us now, and that's how it ebbs and flows. I mean, it does that with camps,
It's with everything.
and with everything. I mean, this is not a
Yeah, the
a
kids.
job for, I mean, we could have adults, but no adults apply for that. That's not even before we put in what the, you know, what we discussed for the range. So it's typical of what we've gotten in the past and probably what we'll get in the future. It's a stepping stone, you know, and it's certainly not like lifeguarding at the high school or lifeguarding at the ocean. And I agree that it is a skilled, you know, that they're certified and they have these other skills, but it's competitive for sure.
All right.
Thank you, Anne Marie.
Anybody else to make comment? All right, at this point, I would like to have someone make a motion to go into attorney-client.
I'll make that motion.
I will second that motion.
Call the question?
Just
Oh,
for
to
clarification,
discuss
just state the reason of pending litigation.
pending litigation and anything else, Mr. Nugent?
That's all I'm aware of is the pending litigation issues, 2 pending litigations.
2 pending litigation issues, okay.
Hey, before we go in that, you know, this came up just this evening. This this quote for the survey work. I guess to have the survey done at town hall.
I thought we
And
were gonna do
we,
that, that was gonna be done after. That's 11.1.
Yeah. Are we?
Possible motion to the floor.
Yes, that was just placed on the agenda there because it came to us today.
I
So
didn't
that's
get-
why we put it on the agenda
I
there.
don't
Now
have it
this
on
this
mine.
wasn't a bid. This wasn't a bid issue. So is this just? Do we know anything
Oh,
about it?
okay.
I just received one of the quotes. My understanding is
Right.
it's quotes for the survey, and
Right.
I believe it,
Do we need that to close, or is it?
I don't know, Brian, there's 3 quotes on, I'm thinking that because there's 3 quotes that would fall under the procurement,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see. It's 3
that
different.
we would need the 3 quotes for what the cost of it is. We would
Oh,
need
okay.
3. So, that's why I believe there's 3.
52. 9,500.
Um,
7. All right, we'll discuss this. Supervisor can shed a little light on it.
You wanna do it now?
now or after,
Yeah, we'll do it when we come out of executive.
okay, let's do it after.
Try to get a little bit
Game
more
with that.
info on it.
All right,
If that's everyone's
That's-
pleasure.
Who made the
It's
motion?
good with me.
we'll do it after.
Yeah, we have to finish the motion for executive
Oh, yeah.
session, because I interrupted
Executive
you.
session, call the question, please.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Begin, aye.
Here before 9, according to acting supervisor.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we come out of executive session.
I'll second.
Call the question,
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Begin, aye.
Okay. Mr. Nugent?
Thank you, acting supervisor Cologne.
All right.
So we have, the first matter we're going to take up is a series of 3 resolutions concerning the all mine litigation. The board has previously spoken to Mr. Donnelly, who is the attorney handling this matter. And tonight we are approving 3 resolutions. The first is going to be a secret resolution, followed by 2 bond resolutions. So if it pleases the board, I will do each one, and we can vote after. I'll summarize each resolution.
Please do.
Please.
Okay, so the first resolution will be a resolution of the town board of the town of Monroe declaring lead agency status and issuing a negative declaration for the financing of acquisition of a certain parcel of land located within the town of Monroe. And that parcel is section block and lot 3-3-30.2, 45-acre parcel. And the resolution is that the town board hereby declares lead agency status pursuant to SECRA in connection with the proposed action and the financing of such acquisition. Next section will be the town board as lead agency hereby determines that the proposed action is an unlisted action under SECRA, and upon review of the short form environmental assessment form, the town board hereby determines said acquisition will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. Next section, the town board hereby directs the town clerk and any other officer or employee as directed by the town supervisor to take any action necessary to carry out the provisions of the resolution. And lastly, the resolution shall be effective immediately and now would be presented for a roll call vote.
I would make that proposal. May I get a second?
I will second.
Call the question, please.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, the next resolution is a bond resolution, and this resolution is prepared by bond counsel and is before the board tonight for authorization and approval. These resolutions will require 4 members of the board to vote in the affirmative. The first resolution, I will summarize. The nature of the resolution is the bond resolution of the town of Monroe, New York, adopted May 20th, 2019, authorizing the payment of a settled claim, stating the estimated maximum cost thereof is not to exceed $415,000, appropriating said amount for such purpose, and authorizing the issuance of bonds of the town in the principal amount not to exceed $415,000 to finance said appropriation. So we would need a motion on that resolution.
I'll make that proposal. Need a second, please?
Second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Thank you. Next.
Okay, and the next resolution is also a bond resolution prepared by Hawkins, Delafield, and Wood, bond counsel to the town of Monroe. And I will summarize that bond resolution, which is a bond resolution of the town of Monroe, New York, adopted May 20th, 2019, authorizing the acquisition of certain undeveloped parcels of land located on Mine Road and Lakes Road in the town, stating the estimated maximum cost thereof is $3 million, appropriating said amount for such purpose, and authorizing the issuance of bonds of the town in the principal amount not to exceed $3 million to finance said appropriation. And we would need a resolution, motion for that resolution.
I'll
to
make
be
that
adopted.
motion.
You make the motion. I'll second it. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, and that's
Okay.
the final resolution on that.
Okay, lastly is an RFP was sent out for a site survey for 1465 Orange Turnpike, which is the building that is being purchased as Town Hall. That site survey of the 3 bids that were put in, I believe Rinaldi Land Surveying is going to be signing off on that, on the property as well as the existing structures, boundaries, and also all utilities. So that would be signed off, and that would be at a cost of $5,200. Would someone like to make that proposal?
Yes, I'll make that motion that we accept the quote from Rinaldi Land Surveying. It's the cheapest of the 3 quotes.
The second?
Second.
Questions? Call the question, please.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, and I believe that concludes this meeting on the 20th of May, unless anybody has any other further issues to bring up at this time.
No, sir.
Can we get a
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
thank you, and a second is?
I'll second.
Thank you. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.